It's a global risk report from 2021 World Economic Forum. It is a matrix of the top challenges that the world will face in the next 10 years. On the left-hand side, you have the impact axis. The higher it is rated, the higher the impact. Example, weapons of mass destruction is there. Obviously, if there was a weapon of mass destruction, it would have a very high impact. Infectious disease is up there too. Look at COVID-19. And on the horizontal axis is the likelihood. Farther to the right is the more likely it is. Farther to the left is the less likely. So again, weapons of mass destruction, if you can see, it's in the upper left. It's very high impact, but low likelihood. Whereas infectious disease, again, the latest pandemic we've gone through and seem to be going through again, it's up there in the very upper right quadrant. And so that's where you really want to focus as far as some of the upcoming challenges. If you see cybersecurity failure, it's in the high impact, high likelihood quadrant right there in the middle. So more than likely, as we've seen over the past couple of years, attacks, exploits, issues starting to ramp up, we're even going to see this more so in the next 10 years. To the tune of it's just going to keep going, getting worse unless action is taken. So I think that's a good segue to start to go to some of the market impacts and what we should do. And then Preetham will talk a little bit more about kind of the trends that we're seeing and some of the associated actions.
Thanks, Damon. Very good overview there. Thank you so much for getting into the lay of the land and what the cyber threat landscape looks like in the operational technology space, right? So definitely it's an alarming question. Every security leader in the industry is asking, how do I keep my OT secured? Historically, most of my OT networks, which were air-gapped, now have, now are integrated with their IT networks. They have IoT coming in, they have cloud infrastructure coming in. Now we cannot say that our operational technology is truly air-gapped network, right? So what is the market impact that we are seeing today because of the advent of Industry 4.0 or even the introduction of your IoT and IT and OT integrated infrastructure that's coming across the industry verticals that we are seeing? So one of the key things, I mean, everybody would have come across this ransomware, denial of service, some of the most popular types of attacks that the adversaries are targeting organizations against. We saw Colonial Pipeline cyber attack recently that that was one of the highest impact that we saw in 2021. We saw JBS Foods, largest manufacturing company in the country. We also saw Florida water plant attack, which was primarily targeted through their water systems and their critical infrastructure. Definitely there is a big impact that's happening. And as Damon mentioned, hospitals rising almost 605% in 2020 is not seeing a dip this year. We're seeing quite a lot of healthcare manufacturing organizations still continuing to build that attack on their critical infrastructure, whether it is their OT, whether it is their IoT networks. So what kind of market impacts we are seeing? First thing is the visibility and zoning, right? So when we talk about visibility and zoning, even 2021 Gartner OT market guide report, if you all would have read, it clearly says that about 60% of the organizations are in the first phase of their OT resiliency journey. So what does that mean? Which means they're either acting against an OT attack based on a breach that has been occurred or based on a directive that has been provided by the board of directors, their C-suite, or some external trends that is driving, like the Cybersecurity Critical Infrastructure Act that came up and similar standards that has currently been implemented. So majority of the industry is reactive. Only about 10% what we see is actually looking at proactive cyber resiliency in their operational technology space, which means, I need to have specific dedicated solutions that can look at my operational technology. Historically, my company has been using vulnerability scanners, asset discovery, asset inventory systems, but that is not going to scale across my OT network. So I need to have a view into what devices, what OT equipments are communicating with what other OT equipments within the contained network, and also how they are connecting with my IT. So clearly defining different zoning techniques, having visibility across your different layers is paramount. And some of the key solutions that security leaders are going and trying out, conducting pilots, proof of concepts are all in, a majority of them are in this space. Second thing is unidirectional detection or mitigation, or just having one single approach is not going to scale anymore. Companies historically, creating a very strong perimeter defense, having strong firewall rules. The adversaries have gone past over it. So they're using, like Damon mentioned, they're using different TTPs, especially the MITRE ATT&CK framework that clearly articulates, now also has a dedicated focus on building the tactics, techniques, and procedures for industrial control systems. So that's work in progress. And if you see, along with the 12 controls that they already had, they're introducing some of them specific to the SCADA system, specific to the defense evasion techniques that are being used for the OT networks. So creating that multi-directional or a multi-tier detection methodologies is something that's critical. And we're seeing a lot of them asking, signature-based or rule-based detection methods are good, but we want something more. Do you have the ability to correlate? Do you have the ability to get the data from multiple sources? Do you have the ability to build a behavioral model? What is my normal behavior of my operational technology devices that are present in the operational technology space, right? How my PLCs are communicating over a period of time, and where do I need to take that call that, yes, this is a cyber incident and not just any anomaly. So having that different tiered view is something we're seeing. Differentiated layers of protection. So you need to have different layers that can help you protect your critical infrastructure. So we're seeing a lot of questions, a lot of comments, feedback from our customer engagements we're seeing is that while we want to protect the crown jewels of our industrial or OT systems, we also want to keep it as far as possible from the hackers, let's say. Whether I do it using a decoy-based mechanism, whether I use it by enhancing my perimeter, whether I now bring in a real-time monitoring protection. And each of these things now, if you take it across the different zones or layers within your OT network, do I have layer 2 protection? Do I have layer 3? What is there on my layer 3.5, 4, and so on, right, as they go up the stack? So this is looking at the Purdue model. So they've started looking more on the Purdue model, even though there has been a constant debate that the traditional Purdue model may or may not exist anymore in the next 10 years. But at least for the foreseeable future, we're seeing that they need to have a layered approach that can actually support their existing infrastructure. And also context-aware security. So like we were mentioning it earlier, what we've seen is that if I have a security mechanism or a security posture that has been deployed in my network for the last 20, 30 years, helping me support my IT networks or my just critical infrastructure networks, that's not going to scale. So I need to now have the context of how my industrial control systems are evolving in terms of introduction of IoT or in terms of the SD-WAN, cloud, all different sorts of applications which are coming in, and by all means, I mean they are required because they help make those processes or make those get data-driven insights into their industrial systems. But it needs to also focus security by design. Security has to be across the entire life cycle of this new revolution, right? So that's why we are seeing a lot of context-aware security strategy being led. What I mean by context-aware is, does my business owner knows what kind of vulnerabilities an OT protocol can bring? Or does my security analyst know that I have this OT device or a PLC in my network, which may be exposed to certain type of vulnerabilities? Do I have a risk strategy or risk management strategy or a full view into my asset inventory that I can make informed decisions? So there are different strategies that most of the security leaders, CISOs in the companies are applying. And this is one of the key impacts what we have seen this year. And ideally having a specific dedicated solution which can help them not replace their existing solutions that they've already been using, but to add as an overlay. to add as a complementary technology that can enhance their current security posture. So that's the kind of approach that we are seeing based on the current trends within the market. Thank you.